Well, that's the reality of Nigeria at the moment, where we see hardship and cost of living quite high. And the government has continued to call for calm or patience and all of that, which is the crux of our conversation. We're being joined in the program via Zoom by a journalist and writer, Mr. Sam Omatseye. Mr. Omatseye, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Yes, thanks for having me.
I know you're a big supporter of the president, but we're seeing these numbers now from the economy. Let's start from the economy in terms of assessing the president's performance. As at the time the president came into power, we'll continually say about 22% inflation numbers in terms of inflation rate. Now is about 30. Food inflation is heading towards 40 at 35 at the moment. Interest rate was about 18. Now it's gone all the way to 22.75. So all the numbers in the economy are almost on record high under this administration in the last 10 years. Is that concerning for you, who is a supporter of the president?
Well, it should be concerning to everybody. It's concerning for me. It's concerning for the president. It's concerning for everybody who wishes the country well. There's no doubt that these things were going to happen when you remove subsidy and you collapse the exchange rates. It's like taking a person through surgery. Um, there's no way you are not going to have some kind of pains.
Well, this pain is what is becoming clearly unbearable for a lot of people. We've seen lootings and we've seen protests even by labor and other civil society organizations. But the fear that people always have, which I would like you to respond to, is that this is not the first time we're hearing promises. What is different about Bola Tinubu, the president, that anyone should believe him that things are going to get better?
Well, it's very important for us to put all of this in context. Let's go to the campaigns, because you mentioned labor and you mentioned the fact that the pains are unbearable and all of that, which are quite correct. Every of the major candidates agreed that the situation in our finances were so horrible that we needed a surgical operation. One was to remove subsidy. The other was also to collapse the exchange rate. They all agreed on that. So when they now go around and start saying that, he didn't do it, he shouldn't have done it, and so on and so forth, they are not a little factual to themselves. Now, it is true that these things are very, very concerning in terms of their impact on people from day to day. It affects everybody. It affects me. It affects everybody who goes to the market, who uses the naira. But don't forget that some surgical work is going on. And the media and a lot of people who are making analysis, they're not looking at where these things came from. This same government announced 23 trillion naira that was just expended away by what they call ways and means. 23 trillion naira is not small money. With interest of about 7 trillion as announced by the Senate President, makes it 30 trillion. This same government announced that there were some money of about $7 to $8 billion, in which about 2.5 of that money had no company, had no very, very veritable identity of those people who spent the money. And there was the case of airlines where the cost they said that they had were different from what was verifiable by the auditors. So you discovered that there was a mess. And if you want to move on, you are going to meet it. It's like what Soludo said on your station about the economy. He has used the best metaphor so far used on the economy inherited. He called it a dead horse standing. You know what that means? It's like a building waiting to come down. So what we had and what we have had since is actually an economy in which it's like a human being who has sores all over his body, was very beautiful like that.
Mr. Omatseye,
yes?
If I may button, without trying to interrupt your thoughts, sir, if I may button, but it's sounding like this is another APC government taking over from an APC government that led the country for 8 years. So Who are we blaming here?
Don't forget.
Is it
Don't
that
forget.
everybody is
Don't
now
forget.
isolating himself from all of this?
Exactly. I agree with you. Don't forget that there was APC and there was APC. And there was an Emiloko moment which told you that there was one APC that didn't want another APC to come to power. We should have to be factual about it. There was a wing of the APC, which was the establishment wing of the APC, that didn't want this man to come to power because perhaps of this moment that we are in now. So we should not forget that. It is an issue of an administration taking power from administration. A child can have two children. We have had them in history, where we remember the case of Cleopatra and his brother Ptolemy. They were both from the same father, but one did not like the other. So it's nothing new in history. There's nothing new in history.
So Mr. Mashe, Mr. Mashe, it is safe to say that we can say that the ALPC in 8 years failed, and this APC is trying to fix what the failure of the last APC did. Is that the right way to characterize the situation?
That is my opinion. We don't need to say that. You can see what is going on. What is going on
I'm just
with
asking
the policy,
whether that's a right characterization.
That's what I see. That's what I see. And that's what everybody is seeing. What's going on with the CBN? What is going on with the dollar? What is going on with the Orosanye report? What is going on with with all the efforts to energize the naira, the efforts to make sure that we have a certain level of sanity in government finances? When we see all of this going on, you know that there is actually a pattern of ways without saying it.
All right, let me go to the campaign, some of the campaign promises made by the president. One of the things that people are actually worried about when it comes to the federal government is that they want the government to lead by example. I remember that the president has said he's cutting down the number of people on his entourage, but people want a little bit more than that. I'm going to read verbatim what the president said in his whole Renewed Hope Agenda campaign document, 80 pages, where he talked about fighting corruption, inefficiency, and waste in governance. We will streamline the amount that the government spends on itself. A cap will be placed on fiscal expenditure for the construction of government buildings and on salaries and related compensation packages of elected officials and senior personnel in the executive branch of the federal government. Such expenditure will have a low priority in our administration. Now, reading this, one would have expected that the President Bola Tinubu's administration wouldn't have had this big number of, large number of ministers in his cabinet. Is this not antithetical? Is number of ministers not antithetical to his promise of cutting costs on governance? 48 record.
Yes, 48 record ministers. I understand that. But this same government that is also streaming down, they are probably trying to, as I see it, trying to make sure that you stabilize, then you move forward. Eventually, I'm sure the slimming down will take place, but it has already started anyway.
All right, let's talk about some other issue that is of concern, and it has to do with, do you think that given the pain that you've admitted that the policy of government has brought to the people, the government should now start rethinking some of its policy, maybe begin to, I don't know, a fine line around their position to see how things can get better, because things are not getting better?
Well, things won't get better immediately, but if you say things are not getting better, the fact that the surgical operation is going on is evidence of hope in the horizon. I mean, they say that no more ways and means. They have cut down on a lot of the loopholes in the financial system. That is telling you things will look up. The idea that you want things to look up immediately is contrary to nature. It's contrary to anything. If you look at economies that have gone through crises like this in contemporary times, you know what happened in Greece and Turkey. Greece had it so bad that people were running away from the country and going to Europe, to Germany, and other countries didn't want to receive Greeks. But Greece has stabilized. This thing took this turbulence in the Greek economy took place for about 3 years, and nobody. There was even a run on the banks. The banks would not even dispense money. It was so bad in that economy. But they sat down and decided to do it. What is going on in the country now is what we should have done many years ago. We just decided to just look on. I was giving you the metaphor before you interrupted me of a man who has sores all over his body and he keeps wearing flashy agbada. After a while, the heat will be so much that you have to pull out the agbada and treat the sores. If you are going to live, and that is what is going on. You have to treat the sores. The sores are monumental, and you can't treat them in one fell swoop.
All right. All right, Mr. Mashe, when you said, I smiled when you said this should have been done a long time ago. The APC government is also to blame for that action. Jonathan, former president, took that action in 2012. It took this action in 2012, but they stood against it. We should have gone past this by now.
Don't start talking to me as though I'm an APC man. I'm not an APC man.
No, you're a supporter. You're a supporter of the president. You're a supporter of the president.
I support the president. Yes, you can say that.
All right, Mr. Samuel Mashe, quite an interesting.
For the president. I've written a book on him, on the election. Yes.
Yes. Maybe some other time when you come back, we'll talk about that. Thank you so much, Mr. Samuel Mashe, journalist, veteran journalist, Amazad, and a writer, as well as a poet and novelist. Thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you.